discussion this evening. I'm your host, Caroline, as has been mentioned there by the other Caroline. I just want to welcome you to actually a very special topic tonight because we are going to focus on self-awareness. From our previous discussions, the big topic really that we are talking about in our discussions is a topic of change, is a topic of growth, is a topic of self-transformation or self-development. So the topic is big and we'll have many series or episodes where we are going to be tackling the topic. We can't do justice in short sessions. But in this particular session for tonight, we really are going to delve into the area of self-awareness. And it's a very key area in the area of growth, in the area of development. And it's an area that really opens the door for so many other things that you want to change in your life. So as we go along, just remember that the big topic here is how we can transform ourselves, how we can change, how we can grow, how we can have, of course, a very different perspective. In my discussions, I'll reference a lot, or I borrow a lot from John Maxwell. I have followed him for a very long time and I've read several of his books, and some of the ideas I'm bringing on board really come from some of his writings, and specifically a book called The 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. So this book is a good book to buy and can guide you in some of the areas, even in answering some of the questions that one has on this area. So I encourage you to buy the book, also refresh yourself with it so that you can also have a very good idea on how to move forward. I'm sure we are all aware that the environment signals growth for us. And there's no better time than this to discuss on the area of growth. Because it is expected, and whether we do it by design or whether we do it by default, because the environment has changed, it really means that it is inevitable that we have to change. So with those few remarks, only to say that it's a topic that excites me. I have dealt with this topic for long, and it's something I keep on asking myself: how do you transform? How do you improve yourself? How do you become a different person? And some of the answers we are going to be discussing tonight, and of course, even in the Q&A session, we are going to ask some of the questions. So I'll start straight away, and I'm going to use a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know whether it's visible. Carol, is it visible?
Not yet. Please just share the screen. Yeah.
Okay, let me share the screen. No.
There you go.
You can see it now?
Go. Yes, yes.
Okay, very well. This is how we are going to start. Tonight, we are going to deal with these particular topics. We are going to do a very short recap just to give us a background of the discussion. Remember, self-awareness is not an end in itself, or is not the goal that we are looking for. The goal we are looking for is intentional growth. We're just looking at a small branch of intentional growth in the name of self-awareness. So we are going to have talk about the advantages of self-awareness. We are going to talk about the journey tonight. We are going to talk about the daily decisions that self-awareness will enable us to make. We are going to talk about some important questions that come through as you're moving on the area or the journey of self-awareness. We are going to talk about actions on self-esteem because we can't really talk about self-awareness without also including this very important topic of self-esteem. We're going to talk about character and actions that can help us enhance our character, because part of self-awareness is also a journey of character development. So we will talk a little bit about character tonight because it's a subset of the area of self-awareness. And finally, we are going to talk about the fruits of self-awareness. What does it look like when you become self-aware? What can you expect in your life? How will it show up? The more you become self-aware, what do you expect to see? So that's what we're going to talk about. And remember, as we talk about this discussion, it is also based on the area of potential. And we have to embrace the full potential that we have. Because if we don't have a vision of our potential, of what we are capable of, then the area of self-awareness becomes very difficult to handle or to go on. So there's a quote by one man called Henry Ford who says, "There is no man living who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can do." So this is a journey of potential. Remember, the journey of growth, the journey of transformation is a journey to achieve your highest and best potential in your life. So potential is a big area and a big idea in personal growth and personal development. And as big as the vision you have on your potential, as big the change and the transformation that can happen in your life. So as we discuss on the area of growth, even on self-awareness, remember the target is to achieve in our own lives the highest expression or the highest potential development as much as possible. So remember, this is a very big idea in the area of change and in the area of growth and in the area of transformation. Again, as we said in the last discussion we have had, the environment now has changed. Before we had a choice whether we can change ourselves and not the environment. Now that choice has been taken away because obviously the environment has changed and has altered permanently. So whether we accept it or not, we really have to start facing the fact that things are going to be different. And if they're going to be different, then it means that we really have to be different. In the old environment, we could have said, oh, I'm going to change the environment. I'm not going to change myself. And we could have said, this is how I'm going to achieve change. But that choice now is no longer there. We cannot say that we will not change ourselves because the environment has already changed. So that choice number 2 is already gone. And then choice number 3 means that now, since the environment has changed, if we actually change ourselves, if we begin to transform ourselves and see life differently, then it means that growth is going to be faster and is going to be more successful. So remember where we are standing now, especially in the current light of what is going on, that the option we really have is if you transform yourself, then success is going to come on your side. So I can only say for now that the time for change has actually come and the time for change is now. The situation is a negative situation, but we can take advantage of the situation to bring real change and transformation in our lives. Now, do you have a plan to grow or do you have a plan to change? And these are the discussions we are having on a series or episode perspective. Remember, growth, transformation, change, these are not natural things. These are not things that happen, the more you live, the older you get, the more work you do, the more places you visit, the more experiences you have. These are not things that happen like that. Growth and change is not natural. Therefore, for us now is to ask, do you have a plan to grow? Do you have something organized that you're going to follow that says, this is how I'm going to transform my life. This is how I'm going to change my life step by step until you get to where the transformation is. So this area of having a plan is very important. And in our episodes and series, we are going to talk a lot about how you can have a growth plan, a personal plan that can lead you to actually where you are going. And just to make it very clear, we are talking about intentional growth, not accidental growth. Intentional growth is what we are talking on, intentional transformation. And there is a difference between the two. Because when it is accidental, you say, I'm going to start tomorrow. When it is intentional, you are very clear. You say, I'm going to start now. I have had a good idea. I have learned something today. I'm going to apply it today. So that is the difference. And what else is different? When you are growing by accident, you wait for growth to come to you. You wait for somebody to come and trigger growth. You wait for the environment to change. You wait for something to happen so that you can start growing, you can start changing, you can start transforming. But when it's intentional, then you take responsibility and say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the environment. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what is happening. I'm still going to take responsibility. I believe I can change. I believe I can transform. And then what happens is that accidental growth also comes through mistakes. So every time we make a mistake, every time we have a problem, every time we have something that is difficult in our life, this forces us to grow. That is accidental growth, but it happens because life is not perfect and mistakes will come and the problems will come. But if we wait for problems to come so that we can grow, then the growth becomes accidental and may not be something that one can really enjoy. So when you're talking about intentional growth, we are talking that it's better to learn before we make mistakes, because then even when the mistakes come, it means that it's going to be very easy to move on. Now, sometimes we rely on good luck and say, okay, maybe I wait for luck to find me. Maybe if I get lucky, also and so is lucky, that is why this and this. But luck will never be a good foundation for changing and transforming your life. It means that luck is unpredictable. When will it come? When do you know when the luck will find you? So instead of waiting for luck, let us go on the area of hard work. And as we go along in this presentation, it's going to become clear that intentional growth, transformation, and change is really a question of relying on hard work. It's no longer an issue of this lack or that lack. So as we go along, you're going to see from the presentation that it's really going to take a lot, and it's really a lot of work. So the last one is that sometimes if you find you're quitting, you start something, you stop. You start something, you stop. It means you are on the path of accidental growth. It means you don't have a conviction. It means you don't have a direction. It means you don't have a passion and a purpose. Therefore, it is important for all of us to move to intentional growth, because then we'll be able to persevere for long. When the going gets tough, because growth and change is not really an easy journey, but when the going gets tough, it means that we shall persevere and we shall keep moving. Now, this area, we talked about it the last time, but very briefly, because it's a recap, there are some things that stop us and we call them gaps. And remember, the growth, the journey of change, the journey of transformation is a journey of truth. It's a journey of really being truthful to yourself and asking yourself, I have been on this path before, I have been on this direction before, and I seem not to achieve what I want. I seem not to transform. I seem to make intentions, but those intentions don't seem to find me, or they don't seem to come true. So there comes a time when you have to be truthful and look at what really is it that stops you from moving in the direction that you want to go. And this area is important because even if you make the perfect plans, even if the environment is supportive of you, even if the environment is conducive to growth, if the things that have been stopping you from moving forward are still existing and you have not addressed them and you have not made a plan on them, then it means you're still going to have problems in terms of being consistent. So this area is really critical for transformation and change in terms of identifying all the areas that stop you. And in the last presentation, we spoke about some of this area. So I'll not dwell so much into them, but there are certain kind of areas, and about 8 areas that would really interfere with your plan and with your path. And really, you have to cure this. So remember, this is a question of truthfulness. So if you can identify where you lie, and different things affect people differently. So you can look at one area and see which is the area that has the biggest impact on your growth or your transformation. Is it perfection gap? Is it that you want everything to be perfect? You're waiting for the perfect plan, perfect role model, perfect resources, perfect timing. Then perfection cannot deliver transformation to you. In the journey of transformation and growth, it is a journey of starting and then perfecting along the way, starting and then improving along the way. So you can't wait for everything to be in place for you to move. The same thing with inspiration gap. It means if you rely on your feelings to take you on the path of growth and transformation, then this will not happen, because mostly feelings always contradict our best intentions. Feelings always contradict our goals. Feelings always contradict the plans that we have. So these are some of the areas that can stop you. The other thing is knowledge. Sometimes we assume that we have enough knowledge to grow. But I want to say it's not enough to say, I have read so many books, I have been to this conference, I have been to that conference. We need simple knowledge that is practical, that is applicable. And that is why I'm even recommending the 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. Because you need something that is simple, that you can read, that can give you the starting point and how to go about the whole journey. So these are things we discussed in the last chat. So I will not want to dwell too much on it, but it's really an important area, because to move forward, you must address what actually really stops you from moving forward. Now, in the last area, because I want to bring the context, I want to say we are talking about a big topic here. We're talking about a topic of transformation, of change, and how you can be a different person. And in the last discussion, we really did touch on 5 areas that can affect you. And areas that if you make a good plan in these areas or in one of these areas, then it can bring the transformation that you wish for. Remember, you don't have to tackle all the areas together simultaneously because that is too much. You can pick 1 or you can pick 2. What that means really is that it's not, if you change in one area, it will affect all the other areas. So we shouldn't be concerned about where do I start? Do I start here? Do I start there? You cannot bring transformation in any one of these areas and not affect all the other areas that are involved. So we were very clear the last time we talked about self-awareness, and today we shall delve a little bit more into this self-awareness because it has certain answers which we need to be very aware of. The other area is relationships. This area is really important in life, and I'm sure all of you will agree because relationship is the backbone of life. Whichever way you look at it, because relationships have many directions. But without good and solid relationships, then the quality of your life will not be as high as you want it to be. So that is another area that requires a bit of work. And then the area of skills, of course, is important. We have to make a living. We have to use our skills to mine our passions. We have to use our skills to mine our purpose. We have to use our skills to improve on our lives. So skills is another area which is really very important, but it's not an end in itself. Skills should be directed towards your area of purpose. Skills should be directed towards your area of passion. If this is not happening, you'll find that there's a big problem because it will bring frustration and all that kind of thing. The other thing is character, a very important area for transformation. If one goes a lot into the area of character in terms of transformation, it will begin to have an impact on many areas of your life. And today we'll look a little bit, time allowing, on the area of character and some actions or things we can do or what we can apply in terms of improvement or in terms of bringing some level of change or transformation in that area. And finally, the other area, of course, is spirituality. We spoke about this the last time. Remember, a human being is a spiritual being. And as long as you are a spiritual being, then you require spiritual nourishment. And we said the last time, spiritual nourishment does not necessarily mean religion, but it means spiritual practices. And these are according to your wish, according to what appeals to you. And spiritual practices are many, and this is an area you can explore by yourself, depending on your interest and what you like. So these 5 areas is a component of what can help us transform and change our lives. If we make plans on any of these 5 areas, if we have enough details on any of these 5 areas, then we'll begin to apply those ideas. We'll begin to apply those details so that we can have a more fulfilled life, so that we can achieve more of our potential. So remember, even as we talk about self-awareness today, it is just a subset of areas of transformation in your life. Now, we delve a little bit more into the area of self-awareness tonight. And for you to change and transform yourself, the conviction we must have, all of us, is that you have to know yourself to grow yourself. And I know it sounds easy and it sounds obvious, but when you look at the details and the work required behind that knowing yourself, then it is not as easy as it appears, and is not as obvious as it appears. So today we'll go a little bit and open the boxes of self-awareness. Remember, it is not exhaustive when we talk about it here, because I'm just introducing the concept. There is more to it than what we can discuss in a few minutes. Now, what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is knowing yourself, having information about yourself, and having a complete belief that the first person you need to know is yourself, because this is what brings self-awareness. And when you fail to know yourself, what happens is you will not find it easy to deal with other people as well. So if we're having problems dealing with other people, The problem is not the people we are dealing with. The problem is ourselves, because we have not yet come to know ourselves the way we should know ourselves. And then the second thing is the issue of self-awareness is that you must get along with yourself. Because if you don't get along with yourself, then your self-image will not be very healthy. And anytime you don't have a self-image, it affects all the other areas of your life. It affects character, it affects skills, it affects relationships, it affects spirituality, it affects everything else. So getting to know yourself and having a healthy self-image really is very important. And then what is the other thing? We must believe that the first person to cause yourself problems is me. If we are having problems, if things are not working out, those problems is because of us, and it's because of how honest we are with ourselves. So we must bring in self-honesty when we talk about self-awareness. And of course, the last thing that we must know self-awareness is that the first person that must change is me. Because many times when we talk about change, people say, oh, this one has to change, that one has to change, this one has to change before I change. But the first person that must change is me, because this is what actually brings self-improvement. This is what brings growth. This is what brings all the fruits that you want to have in your life. If you focus on changing yourself, this is the starting point of growth, of transformation, of realizing your potential. Now, when you look at self-awareness, what are the areas of work? Where do we need to do the work to become more self-aware? So we have about 6 areas. There's the area of personality, and we are going to talk about personality shortly. There is an area of your strengths. There's the area of your interests. There's the area of limitations. There's an area of what you value. There's an area of opportunity. This is a map of self-awareness, or the starting point. Of course, there is more to it, which we cannot cover all together in maybe 40 minutes or so. But if we work on these areas, then what begins to emerge is our true identity, our authentic self. The person that you are and the person that you were meant to be begins to emerge after we open the boxes that are composed of self-awareness. So we are going to go a bit slowly on each of these areas, just looking at what are the ideas that can be there. When we talk about personality, what do we mean? And why is it important? And where does it come from when we talk about the issue of personality? And we are now going to discuss the area of personality, and then we'll discuss a little bit on the other areas. So on the area of personality, you need to get curious about yourself. There are many methods of looking at what is your personality. Some people call it type A, type B, type C, type D. Some people call it the DISC. Some people call it cholerics and the other names. But whatever style you choose, all the styles are right. All you need to know is place yourself somewhere when it comes to your personality. So the 4 angles of personality is, some people are self-driven, that is type A. Some people are charismatic. Some people are introverts. Some people have routine. Now, all of us have all these personalities within us. It is just that sometimes some personalities are more dominant in us than other personalities. But what is the important thing? The important thing here is to learn where you fall, because this is part of self-awareness. And we'll discuss a bit more when we talk about when you know you are this personality type. What does it mean then? How does it affect you? How do you work with that? But the first thing is, get as much information as possible about your personality type, because that will help you in the journey of growth, of transformation, of self-awareness. Place yourself somewhere and start getting a lot of details on that area. Remember, we have so much information about so many things, but when it comes to yourself and somebody asks you, give me a lot of info, what personality type, what does it mean? It means sometimes we are not able to even give an example for ourselves. So I am just encouraging you to get more curious about personality and the various types of personalities that are there. We've already discussed about type A personality, and some of us fall within this personality type A, which means you tend to be ambitious, competitive, practical, impatient, and aggressive. This is personality type A. And if you can identify yourself in this, all of us have all the other personalities, but some are more dominant than others. Then we have also type B, which is actually a more relaxed, more cheerful, more patient, casual, and somebody who doesn't make decisions quickly. So try to just be curious about yourself. Where do you fall, and what does that, we'll come to what does that mean for you? And then we have also some personality type C, people who are just systematic, thoughtful, sensitive, cautious, critical. These are very sensitive people, and these are, people who have all these kind of characteristics. So try to place yourself in all these personality types. And of course, personality type D is also somebody who is, who tends to be very introverted, very, very introvert. And remember that there is no good or bad personality. Remember, the personalities that are there so that they can help you achieve your potential as a unique person, completely different from the other person. And that is why the journey of growth, transformation, and development has to be a very customized, very personal journey, because it must speak to your personality. It must speak to the characteristics you have as an individual. So you can't make a plan or take the action somebody else is taking, because your personality type must come together in terms of the actions you want to take, in terms of how you want to change yourself, in terms of how you're planning for your growth. So personality is really important. And the important thing is to know where do you actually fall and have enough information about that. And remember, it's not enough to want to know yourself. It's also good to know how other people approach life, because as we said, relationships are key in life. So just knowing yourself and your personality type is not enough, because you need to know if you are relating with another person who is a different kind of personality type, then how do you relate with that person? How do you communicate with that person? How do you get that person to hear what you're saying? So personality type is important in terms of self-awareness. And the more you know about your personality type, the better off, and the more you'll be able to plan, and the more you'll be able to be consistent. Now, we come to another area. Remember, we're talking about self-awareness. You need to know a lot about yourself. It is true that there are 4 main fears that we have about life, and everybody has different fears. But what are those fears that we will talk about? Fear of being taken advantage of. This is something that if you are self-aware, you can maybe identify it in yourself, that this makes you behave in a certain type of way. This actually influences some of the things you do, some of the decisions you make, and it even influences your reaction. When people come to you, your first fear is, are you being taken advantage of? So some of us fall in this category. Some of us fall in the category of rejection and loss of approval. Some of us are so sensitive to rejection. You have to be truthful to yourself, because the journey of growth is a journey of self-awareness, accepting yourself the way you are, not being too critical of yourself, just accepting that this is my natural fear. I fear rejection. I fear loss of approval. And when you are self-aware, it means you will do better, and you will improve in the way you react, you will improve in the way you communicate, you will improve in the way you handle relationships, you will improve in the way people affect you. That is why the issue of self-awareness is important, because then you have identified which is the area that causes you a lot of challenges. Then there's a loss of security and confrontation. Some people, and maybe some of us, we feel insecurity is a big fear. And confrontation, we don't want confrontation at all. So this is something that one needs to know about themselves. And then once you know that, because we are talking about improved self-awareness, then you will be able to take better action or react better. And then the other one is the fear of criticism. Some of us can't stand criticism. We can't stand conflict. We can't stand change. So it's a question of just being self-aware, knowing where you fall. And then when you know where you fall, knowing how that impacts you, how it influences you, how that affects the way you relate with other people. So we are knowing this so that it can make a better improvement on our lives. Then the question comes, where does our personality come from, and can it be changed? So what is the purpose of us knowing our personality? So first, we must know, where does our personality come from? These are questions we have to ask ourselves. And there are 3 sources or areas where personality comes from. One of them is that it's hereditary. It is in your DNA. It is how you are born. It is who you are. This is the core of who you are. If you are truthful to yourself, this is the real you inside. And this area cannot be changed. Because if you try to change it, you cannot be somebody different. You cannot, it will be hypocritical. You'll feel like you're being a hypocrite. So there are some things about you that are a part of you that cannot be changed. But experiences have also shaped your personality, the things that you have gone through. Some of them could have been good experience, some of them could be bad experience. If you look back, you can tell certain things that affected you, either when you were growing up, when you were in school, Some of them affected you even after school. Those experiences have shaped who you are. They have shaped the way you see life. They have shaped, the way you approach life. And this is an area that if you look at it and you feel it is important for you, it is possible to change. So let's not be saying that this is my personality, it cannot be changed, it will never be changed, and this is who I am. There are some parts of you that, yes, are who will never be changed, but there are some parts of you that can move and can change, depending if it's something like experiences that have affected you. What is the other thing that impacts personality? It's the area of models, what you saw. If you go back in time, the way you saw people relating, the way you saw communication model, the way you saw conflict model, the way you saw people interacting as a family, the way you saw family relations modeled, this formed part of your personality as you're growing up, just the way you saw people behaving along the way. And it is possible that there are certain aspects of your personality that come because of what you saw. So the idea of understanding and knowing your personality is that when you are self-aware and you understand your personality and where you come from, then you can be making decisions on what areas of your personality are either going to improve your life or some are not going to improve your life, and where you need to put a bit more effort. And then it will be very clear to you that we cannot be just saying that it's not possible to change. This is my personality. This is who I am. It is possible you can change. It is possible you can improve yourself. It is possible there are aspects of your personality that can actually change. So we can move from there and we go now to another area. Remember, we are on self-awareness. And remember, we are now, this is a foundation. We are talking about foundation. We are talking about how do you make a strong foundation so that when you start transforming, we are talking about big transformation in our discussions. We are talking about changing your complete perspective about life and how you can look at life in a different way. So self-awareness, and we've now just finished the area of personality, is a big component of how you can change your life, because when you're self-aware, then you'll know how to do better. We come to another area called strengths. So many times when we are challenged by anybody, including myself, and we are told, can you write down your strengths? Most of us, only you can come up with 2 or 3 or 4 strengths. And yet, there are very many strengths that are there where you are concerned. So the more you work and you know, and you do a lot of work on this area of strengths, then the more you become aware of who you are, the more you improve your self-awareness, the more you are able to describe yourself in very many words, and the more you can tell your story about what is your strength, and you can tell your story in terms of how you look at life. You can tell your story in terms of really who you are and what drives you. And you can have a lot of words and a lot of ideas in terms of who you are. So I want this area, as we discuss about it, I want you to remember that when you begin to start making a plan on how to change and how to transform your life, your plans will be based on your strengths, because you cannot plan on your weaknesses. You cannot plan on your limitations. You cannot put efforts on your limitation. You cannot be distracted by your limitations. When you start making a plan on how you're going to change your life, how you're going to transform, then you must come to this area and start mining this area in terms of who you are. And it is in this area of strength that the first idea of your passion, of your purpose, of the direction you're supposed to take in life will begin to become clear. The only challenge is you have to spend a lot of time on that area of strength. So the way to move forward is spend a lot of time, and I've given you a few ideas there on the area of strength. So have as many words as possible to describe what is your strength, and as many descriptors as possible to tell your story, because the area of strength is where we must plan in terms of our passion, in terms of our purpose, and there you will find the first idea of what am I supposed to be doing? Who am I supposed to be? Where am I? How big is my potential? Because when you realize how many strengths you have, then you begin to see even a big picture of how much potential you have and how much you can achieve using your strengths. So the strengths is a very critical area and a very important area moving forward in terms of who you can be and how much potential you have and where your passions will lie. It will give you the first idea and the first clue in terms of potential. Now, we can't ignore limitations because to do so, it means you're not realistic. As we said, the journey of growth is a journey of being truthful, is a journey of being yourself, is a journey of being authentic. So even as we look at the strengths, again, what limits you? This is a question you have to start asking yourself. And when you start telling your story and you start writing about who you are, and you start putting details on your life and how you approach life and how life works, and the things that have limited you, remember through your own experiences, remember just through maybe the models you saw, you start writing what really has limited you moving forward. Then you write a lot of limitations here. And the reason for doing this is not so that you can make plans or make plans on how to change your limitations. Because remember, our planning has to be on the area of strength. Our planning has to be on that area because that area is also the area of passion and the area of purpose. So, but it is good to be aware of your limitations because they will crop up now and then. And the reason why self-awareness is important is so that when these limitations crop up on your journey for growth, as you're moving forward, then you are able to identify them and you are able to do something about them. So you either say, I'm going to tone down on this, I'm going to tone down on this, or I'm not going to react like this time. I'm not going to be so impatient. I'm not going to be so domineering. I'm not going to be so self-involved. I'm not going to be easily angered because you are self-aware. What happens is that when you are not self-aware, these limitations, they just come to you and you're not aware they are starting, and they come and derail even your strength, they come and derail even your purpose. That is why self-awareness or improving your areas of self-awareness is important. It's not so that you can eliminate your weaknesses or your limitations. It is so that you know when they are present in your life and you know how to navigate through the limitations. So this is an area, again, one needs to look at, again, in terms of detail. So you can write a story on that, and there are as many as possible, and you can write as many as you want. Now, the area of interest is another one. And remember, as we discussed, we are now moving more towards the purpose and passion. When you look at yourself critically, remember you're looking at your personality, you're looking at your strengths, you're looking at your limitations, you're looking at your interests. The final outcome of what you want to achieve is to get to a place where you say, this is my purpose, this is my direction in life, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be. So the area of interest, again, is important because it really speaks to what are the areas of passion in your life that come naturally to you? What is it that you do? And when you do it, it brings a sense of excitement, it brings a sense of adventure, it brings a sense of enlightenment, it brings just a sense of well-being. So area of interest is a clue towards what's your purpose, what's your passion. So as much information as you put here in terms of what are you normally interested in, and you can go as far back as possible in terms of looking at what really drives you, what makes you, speaks to your heart. And some of these things, if you go back in time, even into your upbringing, even into the time when you were in school, even into post-school, if you go back in time in terms of your experiences, you'll begin to find some of these things are there, that you have always been interested in this. This has always come easy and naturally to you. So this area is also a very important area in terms of purpose, in terms of passion, because the clues to your purpose and the direction you need to take in life will also be visible in the area of interest because these things come naturally to you. So you need to be enough self-aware to be able to say what are actually your interests, because again, they will bring you to the area of purpose. Now, let's go to another idea, opportunities. Remember, we are still in the area of self-awareness, all these things we have discussed. Remember, when we look at opportunities, and now we are moving from the roots of the tree to the branches of the tree. But remember, the roots are the foundation of either having a big change or a small change, or remember the tree is what will give you now what you're looking for. So opportunities are individual and they're custom made. So opportunities look like they're the same for everybody, but different people have different opportunities depending on where you are at in life. So after looking at all these areas, then you'll come again to look at the area of opportunities, because opportunities are unique to you. Opportunities depend on where you are, who you are, where you've come from, what is your personality, what you are doing. So opportunities are another big area that one needs to come and look at. I'm going to move a little bit fast because I think my time is moving. So after we move through the area of self-awareness, remember what we are trying to achieve here. Remember what we are trying to be. Remember what we are looking for. We are looking for passion. We are looking for happiness. We are looking for purpose. We are looking for health. We are looking for long life. We are looking for fulfillment. That is why self-awareness is important. That is why growth is important. That is why transformation is important. So remember all this. And my time is moving very fast. Now, the journey of self-awareness, finally, you cannot have that journey without considering these ideas. And these ideas become very critical in the journey of self-awareness. Self-awareness will bring you your identity. It will begin to reveal to you your purpose. That is why it's important to do a lot of work there. That is why it's important to do as much as possible in terms of getting a lot of information about yourself. Remember, it will reveal to you your potential, because the more you look at your strength, the more you look at the details of your strength, then the more your potential become clear to you. And remember, when you have a big idea about your potential, your transformation is actually very big. And so that is an area that one needs to look at. And again, you'll see your motivations. This will come from self-awareness. Why do you want to change? Why do you want to grow? Why do you want to improve yourself? These questions you'll answer. And these questions come from self-awareness. And then, of course, 3 things will come out of self-awareness. You'll have you'll address areas of self-esteem, you'll address the areas of character, and you'll address the area of reflection. Reflection becomes very important because it is one of the things that we use to know ourselves. Spending time with yourself, reflecting on your life, reflecting on where you've come from, taking interest in how your experiences have changed you is an area that is very important for self-awareness. And of course, remember, self-awareness will reveal opportunities that you are not aware you had those opportunities before. So self-awareness will improve your vision of the opportunities that are right next to you, and you are not able to see them right now because you are not self-aware. So it improves on your areas of opportunities. And of course, it helps you improve on your skills and so forth. So this is what you can expect when you have a good self-awareness. And when you are more self-aware, then it is very easy to be consistent. It is very easy to be committed. It is very easy to be creative. It is very easy to be purposeful. When you are self-aware, it is very easy. So it is a very compelling and important thing to do. So I'm going to rush now quickly because time is not on my side. But I want to say that once you're self-aware, this is where the daily things that will become possible for you. When you improve your self-awareness, areas of attitude, areas of relationship, areas of faith, areas of family, areas of finances, areas of value, of values, areas of your own thinking become actually very easy. On a daily basis, you are able to make decisions. You are able to live within these areas because you are self-aware. You are able to improve and influence these areas because of your levels of self-awareness. So it becomes very easy on a day-to-day basis to make plans daily about some things that can improve your life. And these are the big ones that can improve your life. Okay, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip the questions, very important questions there, but I think we don't have much time today. So I'll not also deal with the area of self-esteem because when you look at self-awareness, you cannot look at self-awareness without looking at areas of self-esteem. And the more you become aware, the more it will reveal to you areas where your self-esteem is not where you have some challenges with self-esteem. So the more you become aware, even the areas of self-esteem become revealed. They become clear to you. Even when before you are not aware that you had some limitations on the area of self-esteem, it becomes more clear to you that these are the limitations that I have. So Another time we'll talk also about this, but areas of self-esteem can also be improved by a lot of things that you can do to improve on this area. Remember that when you improve your levels of self-awareness, the more improvement you'll have in this area of self-esteem, and the more things or ideas you can work with in terms of improving your level of self-esteem. So we'll not go so much into that, but there are things you can do to actually improve your self-esteem that will actually get you going. We'll not again go so much into character, but it's so important. You can't talk about self-awareness without talking about the areas of character. And the areas of character are such that there are certain things you can work with, because character is an inside job. Remember, self-awareness is an inside job. And the more you work on character, the more you work on the things that are inside of you, then the more you become better and more successful in life. So remember the areas of character, that the inside matters, because growth, transformation, and changing yourself is an inside job. It is the things that you do inside. It is the decisions you make on a daily basis of how to affect yourself inside, or how to change the things that are inside you. Remember, character also affects other people significantly. And we spoke about relationships. So improvement or work done on character will also, of course, impact relationships. So there are many things you can do on character, but the big idea here is also humility. Humility is a big one on character. The more you practice humility, the more you have a teachable spirit, the bigger and the better and more improved your character will be. So this is actually very important in terms of what you can do on character. Then finally, remember the big ones. I'm now signing off. Remember the reason for self-awareness. Remember why we want to do self-awareness is that we need to find our purpose. We need to grow. We need fulfillment. We need to have potential. And finally, remember, this is a goal of happiness. There is nobody who doesn't want to be happy in life. It's just that we need to find the path to happiness. And these are the big ideas that we need to work with. We unpack them, apply them to our life, and then we begin to move in our lives in a different way. So remember, this is the journey of self-awareness, and it's a journey of growth, it's a journey of transformation. And those are the big ideas. So thank you very much. I'm ending my talk there. It feels like 5 minutes. But there you go. This is what we had for the evening. We'll have more discussions. Some areas I've rushed, I'll bring them back again in terms of another session. So thank you very much for tuning in, and a pleasure to have you and to host you this evening. And those are my contacts in the event that you have a question or you want something that clarified. Thank you very much. Caroline, over to you.
Thank you, Carol. It has been a wonderful session. I think we shouldn't be looking at time. we can just go on and talk because the discussion has been sweet, and I can see some questions have come in.
Yes.
I think we will go over the questions before I finally wrap up. I can see we have some minutes, but we'll go over the questions.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman who is asking this must be someone from Uganda based on your name. Yeah. My question is, what kind of personality traits would be required during these times of anxiety, low morale, and how would one make use of their personality to survive under these circumstances?
Okay, those are many questions in one.
Okay, let's start with what kind of personality would be required during these times of anxiety, low morale?
So I think the big idea here is, as we've spoken about personality, there are some parts of personality that just belong to you. It's something you cannot change. It's something you are born with. It's something which is in your DNA. So it's important to find that part of you, which is the genuine you, that when you make any plans, if you're trying to motivate yourself, you do it according to your personality. If you are trying to make some actions, then you make those actions according to your personality. So it's important to first find what is the real you. What is that personality that speaks to you directly? That's very important. What is the second thing? Getting a plan to grow during this period of time is one of the most motivating, significant, important, valuable, necessary things that we can do. Having a plan how to improve yourself, taking yourself seriously, saying, I'm going to make a plan based on my personality. I'm going to make a plan based on my strengths. I'm going to make a plan based on my interests. I'm going to make a plan based on my purpose, on how I'm going to improve and change my life. I'm not going to be controlled by the environment. I'm not going to let the environment dictate to me. I'm going to take responsibility and say it is my responsibility to find my passion, to find my purpose, to fuel my life, to become energetic, to become passionate. It is my responsibility. I will do what it takes. So that is very important.
Okay.
So, and if you have a further question, please write on my email. I will have more discussions around that area on how you can just self-motivate yourself.
Okay. So I think you have also captured how they can make use of this personality to survive under the circumstances.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your advice to the introvert when it comes to getting a mentor, and how do they go about opening up? I think this person has asked a very important question, because this is an area all of us struggle with. How do you approach a mentor? And how do you go about opening up and, you know, getting through to a mentor?
So I think the first thing when we want to change and to grow, the first idea is there is a lot of things you can first do by yourself. There are a lot of answers which you have yourself inside of you. So the first thing about moving forward is taking time to first get in touch with yourself. Taking time to first get details of yourself. And then as you look at yourself and you have more details, then you can begin to ask yourself, how do I get what kind of mentor would I have? And don't complicate it. It's not necessary to have only one mentor. You can have many mentors. And what is the most important thing, and I spoke about opportunities, you are not aware that there are mentors who are in your life already. So you don't even need to go look so far. You know, some of us assume we have to go very far to look for a mentor. We have to go look for this kind and this kind of person. I'm telling you, the minute you improve on your self-awareness, you begin to see opportunities right next where you are. You begin to understand there's a family member who can mentor you on this, there's another family member, there's a friend who can mentor you on this, there's another who can mentor you on this, there's another. But because you're not self-aware, you are not able to see that opportunity that is there. There is opportunity already where you are. You don't have to go far. I'm telling you.
Okay, so should somebody maybe admire someone and they would want to be mentored by that person, assuming this person is not your family member and is not your relative now, how do you gather that confidence and approach them and, you know, tell them that I would like you to be my mentor? I think that is where most of us struggle.
So you have to confront your fears, because that comes under the category of fear or in the zone of fear.
Correct.
So you have to confront your fears, and I named 4 fears that we all have. If you have fear of rejection, you have to confront the fear of rejection, because that is what is holding you back. That's what you are afraid of. You are afraid that you're going to approach a mentor and they're going to reject.
Yes.
So you are afraid, even you don't want confrontation. So you have to address your fears. But there's only one way to cure fear that I have seen myself work very well. The only way to cure fear is to take action by faith. So you, even when afraid, you approach someone and you know they can reject you, but you do it even if you are afraid. Yes. So that's one of the ways of curing fear, by faith.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's the worst they can do, reject.
They would reject you, yes, but that's the worst. So face that fear, that out of part of your personality is that you are afraid of rejection. So that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Another question from Caroline. Sometimes others tell you different strengths and weaknesses than what you know. How do we reconcile self-awareness and the voices that speak differently from our vision?
So both sides are correct on the information they have. You are right about what you think about yourself. Other people are right in terms of what they think about you. If the two things are very different, then there is a problem which you need to address. It means you're not representing yourself well to other people. It means people are not seeing you for who you are. It means you're not able to bring out your authentic self. It means you're not doing a lot of work to know yourself and know how to represent yourself, to own yourself. It means you're not being true to yourself. The minute you start being true to yourself, then people will see you for who you are. If you are going to live in a way that you're doing so that people can like you, people can say you are good, People can say, you know, you're a good person, you are a likable person. If that is how, then there'll be a problem, because who you are and what people think will be two different things. So you have to be yourself. You have to do a lot of work. It is your job to know yourself. And when you know yourself, then you begin to say, how do I let people know? How do I show people the authentic me, the true me, the authentic Caroline that is there? How do I let people know this? So that the two are not so different, because you can't have people describe you in a very different way from who you are. It means there's something, you're not being authentic. Be true, be who you are all the time, all the time.
Okay, so present the real you. Be authentic, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, another question from Ivan. Is there anything like multiple personalities? If so, is this a negative trait or a strength?
So as we were saying in the discussion, all of us have all these personalities within us. It is just that one of those personalities is stronger than the other personalities. So what you have to do is find for yourself which is the stronger side. All of them are represented in all of us. The human being is a very complex person, and they cannot be divided into four categories. The human being was created in a very unique way. That is why the potential is so high for the human being. And that's why the potential even for change is very high, because all these things are inside us. All these personalities are inside us. But the one that is more stronger than the rest is what you need to work with and work on, because that is you now. That is what will lead you to where you want to go and what you want to be. So remember, a human being is very complex. It cannot be divided in this and the other. Yeah.
So does that mean we use those different personalities as strengths?
Yes, you use them as strengths, and you use what works for you. That's very important. Actually, what works, the more you know yourself, some of the questions fall away. So when you want to reduce your questions, improve on the information you have about yourself, then you will find that clear answers are beginning to come to you, because you have just much more information about yourself. Of course, let me tell you something. You can never know yourself 100%.
Yeah.
That is a fact. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's why we say the human being is special and has so much potential, because there is so much you can't know everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, a very interesting question here from Harry. When you are confident and you know yourself, you are called arrogant. When you are calm, you are called a coward. When you mind your business, you are called a loner. Self-esteem has a lot. How can we be consistent in the midst of the negative chaos?
So remember, when you know yourself, it is your job to represent yourself well to other people.
Yeah.
So when you know yourself and you're representing yourself to other people, then communicating in a way that labels you as arrogant will not help you. Remember, when you know you want to build strong relationships, remember the essence of life is quality, solid, strong relationships. That's the essence of life. And that is why you need to look self-aware, so that when you represent yourself to other people, people will not perceive you as arrogant, because you will choose a better way to communicate, because you'll be self-aware. Remember, self-awareness is also about understanding and knowing other people. You can't just be self-aware. You have to know also, how do other people like to be communicated to? What do other people appreciate in the way other people handle them? How do other people look at information and look at life? So when you are representing yourself to those people, it means you have to do it in the best way possible, so that your true self, your authentic self comes out, so that you are consistent. If you try to be too many things to too many people, you can't. You have to be yourself. The only area that is important is how you represent yourself to those people. So that's what you have to work on. And that's what you're calling growth. That's what you're calling transformation. That's what you're calling self-awareness. Because when you are self-aware, it means that you understand the effect you are having on other people and you are able to respond, to adjust, to improve in the way you communicate without changing yourself. Because it's not, you can't change yourself. You can't.
Correct. Now, in the interest of time, we are going to answer 2 more questions, and I know Carol is going to engage with each of you because she's going to have your email addresses, and she had posted her email address, and she's very free in answering some of the questions that you're asking. So we have 2 last questions. How can an extrovert deal with an introvert? I think that is where personality clash happens. There's an extrovert person here, and they have to deal with an introvert.
So, in brief, you have to also find how other people interpret life. You have to find the other person's perspective or how they see things. You have to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And to break it down a little bit, some people like to be communicated in details, facts and detailed. If you know that, then if you want to have effective communication, you have to break your message for that person into details or into facts. Some people like to be communicated to in terms of feelings. They want to hear, to be told about feelings. They want their feelings to be addressed. They feel their feelings are very important, even more important than the facts. So if that is the case, then you have to make your message in such a way it addresses feelings where the other person is concerned. So you have to look at the other person's perspective. But the more self-aware you are, the more the answers will come to you. Let me make a very powerful statement. The more you know yourself, the more you will know other people. Now, we don't know other people because we don't know ourselves. We are trying to communicate with other people, but we even don't know ourselves. That's where some of the problems are. So the more you improve your levels of self-awareness, you look at your strengths, you look at your limitations, you look at your interests, and you know yourself, then it will automatically happen that you'll begin to understand other people even better, even how to communicate and how to relate with them. That's generally how it works.
Okay. There's Kirabo. Can someone have all 4 personalities at the same time? That's a very interesting question.
I think you've answered that one because you've said all of us have the 4 personalities. We've said the human being is so complex. And that's why the human being has so much potential because of that complexity. There are things about yourself that you don't know right now. And there are things about yourself maybe you will never know because it's impossible to know yourself completely. So that is why the human being is created in such a way that all these personalities are inside. And that is why the potential is so huge. Now your work is to know which one is more strong than the others. That is your work. And if you know that's the one that is stronger, how do you work with it? How do you plan around it? How do you do a work around that personality when you know which one is stronger?
Okay. And the last one for the night, is it advisable to concentrate on 2 areas for some time and other 2 until all are done? That is from Sekamate in Uganda.
That is the best thing that you can do. You can't do too many things. Focus. I gave you 5 mountains. Focus on 1 or 2. And this is the statement which is very powerful. It is impossible to change one area without affecting all the other areas. So you don't have to be worried that I'm going to miss out. You don't have to be worried that, why don't I work on this one and then? No, if you focus on 1 or you focus on 2 areas, you will still affect the other areas. When you transform one area, it will create transformation even in the other areas. So don't worry so much. Pick, and it's advisable, pick 1 area or 2 areas because you can't do so many things at the same time.
Okay. Interestingly, we have answered all questions of the night. So that was very, very good. Thank you all for all the questions that you have asked. For those ones who've been asking about accessing the audio, please go to our YouTube site, the AIR Insurance YouTube site on YouTube, and you will see this video and you can listen to it over and over again as much as you want. Now, before we close the session, I think I just need to recap the very important areas that were captured during the presentations. What would probably be my takeouts, but I know it's also takeouts for most of you. I think the most powerful statement of the night has been, the more you know yourself, the more you will know other people. So know that before you know your friend, your relative, your colleague, you need to know yourself. And when you know yourself very well, you will get to know the other people. Another statement of the night that has been made is that the change we are discussing throughout this series is the intentional change. It's not about the accidental change. So you have to have an intention of changing yourself for you to enjoy the growth journey. Now, the journey of growth is a journey of being truthful. And I think that is where we started with self-awareness. We need to be truthful about ourselves.
Yeah.
And you cannot look at self-awareness without looking at self-esteem. So even as we are looking at our self-esteem and questioning our self-esteem, that is the beginning of the journey of being self-awareness. Now, I know maybe there are maybe doubts or questions on area of passion, and Carol has addressed that area today. Your area of passion is that which comes naturally and brings you excitement. That is your area of interest. So if you are trying to discover your area of passion, she captured it very well. It's that which comes naturally. So thank you so much, Carol, for those wonderful times, the wonderful things you've shared with us. I know it's not easy, and it's not always that an expert or somebody who is a passionate in a particular area shares their knowledge with everyone. So we really, really thank you for valuing your time to share it with us. And most importantly, our listeners this evening, it's Friday, yay, but you have made time to sit down and listen to this very important talk. So thank you very, very much. Carol will be sharing with each of you because she's going to get your email addresses, the ones you registered with when you are signing in the website, and she's going to communicate to you. Should you have any questions, you can reach her on the addresses that she had posted. So thank you very much. See you next time. We shall share with you the next webinar that is coming up on the series, because it's a whole series. So we look forward to hosting you next time.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much, and good night, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.